Hello, this is Mrs. Meyer. I am going to be going over the APIS AP Biology course description for parents and students in the AP Biology course. On the left-hand side of the course description, you can see the AP Biology Big Ideas. These are the content pieces that we'll be looking at throughout the school year. So in bold are things like evolution, energy, information, and interactions. And from there, we'll be covering lots of different details. So in general, under this course description, you can see that we're looking at the big connections in biology. This is like an introductory college level biology course. So we'll be challenging and we will move quickly. It's going to prepare students for that AP biology exam, which takes place in May, and all students are expected to complete that at a chance for college credit. It's also great for colleges to see AP Biology on your college or on your high school transcript so they can see that you have challenged yourself. AP Biology has particular learning objectives, but there are different ways that students can learn the content of the course. We'll be doing in-class activities, laboratory investigations, getting information from your textbook, from science journal articles, from videos, from websites. So all of those different places will be great places to get content. We'll also be looking at how to take effective notes and different studying techniques that you can use throughout the course now and also in the future when you're taking college level courses. The course supplies are listed here below. The textbook and the workbook you'll be getting from me in class, and then the rest of the things I'd like you to bring in. That composition notebook, I want you to note, is quad ruled so that you can use it for graphing. So it should have graph paper in it. On the right hand here is our course design. Students will be working in teams and individually throughout the year. So you can expect kind of a mix-up of group work and individual work. We'll be having lots of discussions in class, which help to get you ready for the labs. The labs are going to be ending up as a claim evidence reasoning scaffold, which we'll talk about more in class, but basically it helps the students to begin to understand what it means to make a scientific argument. In those investigations, we'll be looking at these 7 science practices. So we'll be using models, we'll be using math, we'll be using scientific questions, we'll be collecting data, we'll be analyzing that data. We'll be working with scientific explanations and theories, and we'll relate knowledge across all sorts of different scientific disciplines, not just biology, but other science disciplines as well. Page 2 goes over assessment. So in the assessment section, you'll see that I've divided it into summative and formative assessment. So we'll look at the summative assessment first. Summative assessments is the entire chunk of the grade for this class. So it'll be tests and lab reports that you'll be getting your score from. The tests and quizzes are 75% of the summative assessment, and labs are 25%. So tests are given on the last day of school each month, approximately, and they are supposed to be similar to the AP exam. So they're smaller in size and length, but they still have multiple choice, mathematical gridding questions, and constructed response or small essay questions on those exams. So those will be monthly. Weekly, you'll be getting quizzes in class. Those quizzes are intended to help prepare you for the exam, to see the things that maybe you're still struggling with, but also to give you a heads up as to what kinds of topics will be on the exam. Finally, semester 1 and semester 2 will both have final exams, and these are 10% of the course grade outside of that regular summative assessment. The rest of the summative assessment is your labs, and you will be doing some sort of report on each lab. The reports are different for each time, but there will be some sort of product that you'll create for the labs. Every student is required to complete every lab. So if you are absent for a lab, we'll have to work that out and make sure that we find a way for you to either get that information or do the lab at a different time. The next section is formative assessment. Formative assessment means assessment for learning. So it's assessment that helps you to learn during the process. So you might not completely understand a topic when I'm giving you formative assessment, and for that reason it's not graded. I don't want to penalize you for not knowing or understanding something. However, formative assessment, as I said, is assessment for learning, so it is essential that you complete all formative assessment to get ready for the summative assessments. If you're not doing your in-class work, if you're not doing your homework, then you're not going to be ready to take those summative assessments or the AP exam, and that will be very clear when those assessments happen. Homework is important in this class, typically for content acquisition, so for learning that first look at the information, or for review. So you might be responsible for reading or viewing or watching certain homework ahead of a class period, and you need to make sure that you get that done. If you don't, again, it will show up on your summative assessments. So responsibility is huge in getting your homework done. My responsibility is I'll give you multiple days to work on assignments so that you'll have plenty of notice about due dates. So make sure that you're paying attention and keeping organized about those due dates. And if you feel like you're being rushed, we can always have a conversation about getting that homework done. But the expectation is that all homework is completed. In the case that work is not completed and it's missing, it will be marked as an I in the gradebook. Okay? They don't put a 0 in the gradebook because that means that the assignment is over and done. So I want to make sure that the students understand the assignment still needs to be completed. It just hasn't been completed if it's an incomplete. If an incomplete shows up in the gradebook, you can expect that I will be contacting that student to be working on that assignment with me outside of class time. And as a parent, you will also get information or communication from me about those missing assignments and the fact that your student is working with me on them. If for whatever reason there is one or more incomplete assessments in the gradebook at the end of the semester, the student will get a no credit for the course. So it is my responsibility as a teacher to make sure that all of those incompletes are getting communicated to the parents and the students throughout the school year so that they can finish those before the end of the semester. There are also retakes and redos in this class, and you can read about the retakes and redos on the tests and quizzes and the lab reports here below. But some highlights that I want to make sure you understand is that no retakes or redos can take place during the last 2 weeks of the semester. That is an APIS policy. And so we can't wait until the last minute to do those retakes and redos. And then finally, the retakes and redos need to be scheduled outside of class with me as the teacher. And there are some things that students have to do before they can do their retake and the redo. So the main message here is it's better to do really well on your assessments the first time than to go through all the hassle of doing a retake or a redo later on. Finally, up here at the top right-hand side, I have a little bit of a piece on academic honesty. I do encourage teamwork in class for particular assignments, but there are certain things that are not acceptable to share work on or to get work from another student. So, for example, even though on a lab report you might collaborate or work together on doing the lab itself, the data might be exactly the same because you did it together. Everything else for that lab report, so the write-up that you write for me to hand in, has to be different. So all work in this class is expected to be original, or if you got information from an outside source, it needs to be cited in APA format. And there are consequences in the APIS student handbook about cheating and plagiarism that will be followed if that happens in class. Okay. Again, make sure that if you are missing work, we work together to figure out when you're going to finish those assignments, especially if you have to be gone and you know ahead of time. We can try to work ahead of time to make sure that whatever you miss can be taken care of quickly. The third page starts with course expectations, and these are kinds of how the learning environment in class is going to work. In class, during this first week of school, we'll be working together with the students to kind of achieve those common expectations for classroom behavior. But there are some standard things in the APIS student handbook that I will be following as a teacher, and you can look at the handbook to see what those things are. There are level 1, level 2, and level 3 and 4 behaviors, and I'll be following the consequences for those as detailed in the handbook. Communication is the next section. You can expect progress reports from me periodically, but also weekly email updates. You can have access to the Edmodo online course if you request that. You could have access to my plan book so you could see what assignments are coming up. There is an online grade book called PowerSchool that teachers, students, and parents all have access to. And then there is a special service called Remind that I will be sending text messages out to the students through. The students don't have my phone number and I don't have their phone number, but I'm still able to send them text messages through the Remind. So if students and parents would like to be a part of those Remind text messages, over here on the side, you can see where you can sign up on your phone for Remind. Final, some miscellaneous pieces. Extra credit assignments are not available in this course. Students have to comply with all the computer use policies in the APIS handbook. I am always here for extra help, and that is one of my favorite things to do is to work with students one-on-one to help them learn new concepts. So anytime that a student needs help, I am more than happy to work with them when we can schedule a time together. There's a little note here at the end to the parents and guardians, as well as some contact information from me down at the bottom. As always, if you need to get a hold of me, probably the email address that I've provided is the best and quickest way, and I'll return your email within 24 hours during the school week.